I am calling this May 22nd, 2023 regular meeting of the Mancos R6 School Board to order. The time is 6:01. Roll call, please.
Pam Coppinger. Here. Victor Figueroa.
Here.
Katie Cahill.
Here.
Emily Hutchinson Brown. Here. Tim Hunter.
Present.
Okay, and we have everyone here. Would you please join me in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. Please turn off your cell phones, and if you need to have a conversation, please take it out into the hall. I want to remind everyone, this is a meeting of the Board of Education in public rather than a public meeting. So let's go to the agenda. Approval of agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda. And I'd like to include action item T. Act on the recommendation to hire Seth Levine, elementary principal. The new elementary principal.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend the agenda to include.
Should be to approve and amend.
Yeah.
Okay. So approve and amend. Okay.
I will second the approval and
Amend. Okay.
and amending.
Motion to approve and amend our agenda for tonight and add action item T, act on a recommendation to hire Seth Levine, elementary principal. Any discussion? Okay, Heather, call the question, please.
Katie Cahill. Aye. Pam Coppinger.
Aye.
Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Tim Hunter.
Aye.
Emily Hutchinson Brown. Aye.
Okay, the motion passes 5-0. Approval of minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes of the April 17th regular session.
I'll second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the April 17th, 2023 regular meeting. Any discussion? Okay, Heather, call the question, please.
Katie Cahill. Aye. Pam Coppinger.
Aye.
Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Tim Hunter.
Aye.
Emily Hutchinson Brown. Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Public participation. I think we've been waiting for this one. Kathy Epps and Holly Figueroa signed, but they already did their presentation and they're over at fifth grade continuation. We have Cynthia Wilcox.
I was hoping to have two middle school girls. Can I just run outside and see if they're like standing out there waiting?
Well, if you want to,
I'll
we'll
go
switch
outside.
and we'll have Mr. Levine first.
Sure,
and then you
that'd be
second.
great.
Would that be great?
That'd be great.
All right, we actually want to hear from our new element who adopted, but anyway. Are you right now prospective new?
Mr. Levine.
So, Madam President, if I could introduce our finalist for the Mancos Elementary School Principal position. With us today, we have Mr. Seth Levine. He interviewed with a panel today of the majority of elementary staff, as well as a large component of district staff. And I can tell you, after reviewing his materials and a really thorough and exhaustive evaluation and some background check, it was an enthusiastic support made to me to bring to you that we hire Mr. Seth Levine as our Mancos Elementary School Principal starting next school year. He's with us in the audience, and perhaps he'd be kind enough to share a little bit about his background with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I'm from Lightning Creek, so just right on the other side of the mountains here. Love this area, love this community. We just moved last year into town here. We got a beautiful little spot in back of the brewery. And then my wife Sarah is at the middle school. She's one of our amazing middle school teachers. And I guess a little bit about me. I did my undergraduate at Colorado State. I did a history and education undergrad, and then started teaching middle school down in Farmington. I've been a member of Farmington Municipal Schools for 17 years. So my whole teaching career, because I'm a big person on commitment. And then was awarded Teaching American History grant and earned my Master's of Arts in US History from Adams State. And then more recently, was lucky enough to be awarded a Woodrow Wilson Fellowship and earned my Master's of Business Administration through New Mexico State. And it's an MBA in Education Leadership. So kind of a unique blend between business and education. I'm working right now as the assistant principal at Country Club Elementary down in Farmington. Just an amazing school, real high achieving, incredible job that I really like. Staff was very disappointed in me. I told them I was gonna leave today, so it's a hard day. It's a hard day for me, but I am just overjoyed at this opportunity to join you guys and to go to school with these sweet little girls.
There you go.
Are you girls excited that you get to have your dad?
I just found out about 20 minutes ago. So
That's fantastic.
it has to have time to sink in. Well, it's nice you don't have to travel.
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
sure you took a cut and pay, so thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely, but it's just, what an incredible
Quality of life.
opportunity. Yeah.
Quality of life. If you're anything like your wife, I can attest from my own middle schooler. Slam dunk, like we're so happy to have you. Your wife is revered by the students, and so I personally will say I'm excited to have you.
Thank you so very much. This whole community has just been magical. It's the best way to characterize it. It's been incredible.
Well, we think so too. That's what the school, I think we've earned a reputation of excellence and difference. And I think we stand out, and we're glad that you could join us so that you can continue that journey.
Yeah, I'm just so excited.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get to work.
Excellent.
Welcome to Mancos.
Thanks for putting your trust, your whole family's trust. Yeah.
Oh, man, and thank you for bringing your family today. They're adorable.
And it's Elisa's birthday.
How old are you?
Yeah, have a day old.
Wow.
That's tremendous.
That's awesome.
Well, and these girls, they just love the elementary school. They are having the very best, they had the best year. They had the best year. And so it's great. That was what really sold me, was just seeing the quality of the educators here. Everybody really cares. It's fantastic.
Thank you again. That's awesome. All right, Sensa?
They're not here, but I can do a little bit for them. I don't know. I checked and checked, but I have their work, so I'll just present it. Is it okay if I stand up? Okay. I'm not good at just sitting. So, I am Sansa Wolcott. I'm the watershed coordinator for the Mancos Conservation District. And we've been working on creating a community-driven stream management plan. And I thought that it would be really interesting to work with middle school students, since kids are gonna be the ones inheriting the watershed. I thought it would be really fun to work with them and get their vision of what they wanna see in the watershed. And so for the past 6 weeks during Thursday's X blocks, I've been coming in and working with the group of middle schoolers. They've called themselves the Pink Lemonade Watershed Committers. Because for them, water is all about pink lemonade and having water to have pink lemonade. So that's what they came up with. They wanted to do something about pink lemonade, and I was like, well, you need to tie it into water somehow. So that's what we came up with. So throughout this process, we've been working through this idea of consensus and coming to consensus as a community. And to do that, we start by addressing the present situation. Then we go through and have the students think about their worst possible outcomes. What are the worst possible outcomes for the watershed? Then we moved into what are the best possible outcomes for the watershed. And then from there, they started brainstorming strategies and actions of how they want to reach those best possible outcomes. And so last week, what we did was we sat down with the class and they kind of went through those things and picked out their top parts that they thought you should learn about. So current problems is also the present situation. It says we have had more water than we've had in 7 years. We need better infrastructure. We aren't using water in the right places, like farms and livestock. The water's polluted. We need to conserve the water better. We need better flooding control, and floods are causing damage. So those were kind of their top priorities for the present situation. We also tried to kind of think about the present situation last year as well, just seeing as how it was very, very different, you know, like this spring is very different from last spring. So some of that came through a little bit, you know, we're not using water in the right places and things like that. But this year you can see they were really focused on flood and infrastructure and things like that. So that was their ideas for current problems. From there, we have their goals, which are kind of their best possible outcomes for the watershed. And they said flooding can be good. It helps produce more crops. Water is good because we need it to produce hydroelectricity. A goal is good water use for swimming, medical use, happy little trees, and pink lemonade. Lemonade is on there again. Their goal is that we use water well. We have enough water to make a water park. They have a high priority for a water park in Vegas. We have a working water cycle. We have happy animals and a healthy community. So those were their top priorities for goals, where the watershed needs to go. And then some of the actions that they thought we need to take to get there. We have controlled burns. We talked a lot about the watershed being supported from the forest and the mountains, and that's where all of our water comes from. So when we started talking about that, they were like, oh, we need a little bit better forest management. We need to use water better, less water usage. We need to create healthy soil to help store that water. We need better water infrastructure. We need to utilize groundwater. We need to add erosion control, funding. Transport, sometimes it's hard to read middle school. Funding, transport, and education. So education was a big thing. And then they were really interested in this whole idea of reusing water and gray water and being able to make our water go further. So these are the kind of just a summary of what these guys created over the past 6 weeks. We had about 10 middle schoolers and they all chose to come in. It was an option about whether they wanted to come in and do that in the workshop. And so not only did they get to learn about the watershed and kind of create this vision, but they went through that whole process of like, how do we do this? How do we talk about these things? And then we taught them how to create collective statements. And so throughout each presentation, they would write all their bullet points on a paper, and whatever the kids wanted, you had to record it accurately. And then they learned how to take those and put them all together into one collective statement to say, we as a class or we as a community want these things. And they were able to keep their words into those statements. And then they went home with a whole little booklet of all of the collective statements that they created. So it was a really cool opportunity, and I was so excited that the middle schooler teachers and Audion helped me get in there and work with them again. So thank you for allowing that, and let me have some time with your middle schooler.
Thank you for coming back, Sandra.
I was gonna say, we miss you.
We miss you.
We miss you.
Come back anytime. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I'm sorry the girls didn't make it to present to you themselves.
Since I don't wanna like keep you or anything, first and foremost, thank you. But since you're here and Audion's here as well, is this something that we could put into like the digital portfolios or something like that, this work?
So I think yes, the rollout for the digital portfolios is sort of, the planning parts of it are underway right now with a lot of teachers. Right now have the opportunity to take Google training through a grant and co-pilot. And so the next year IB plans on rolling it out with 6th graders. So I think that would be perfect. And maybe the 3 of us could talk about, you know, or you can either, but how to get some of this reflected in those digital portfolios.
Yeah, it'd be really cool to like capture it
Mhm.
someplace, because it's really interesting work and it almost could be fleshed out even more, like for the future, maybe by capturing it at this stage, then we can see an arc maybe for future stages, for when they get older or maybe spark something. So it's just something I was thinking about.
Yeah, however I can assist, that would be great. And I think we kind of, when I met with the middle school teachers, we talked about kind of creating this group as kind of almost ambassadors to be able to kind of share some of this consensus work with classmates. So some of that may need to happen next year because we kind of ran into the end of school.
Oh, for sure.
So it was just kind of like, let's get a vision ready and get that done. But yeah, however I can help create that, I think that would be awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great, thank you, great thought.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Now we're gonna take my hungry children.
All right. All right, we got district accountability report. Yeah.
So,
Bill isn't here, or-
yeah, I'm speaking for Tio today.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good birthday celebration.
Look forward to seeing you on June.
Absolutely, I'll be there.
All right, so, yeah, Matigo was kind of out of commission. I don't know if you heard, but he had a concussion.
Oh.
From work. Something fell on his head. But anyway, he was out off of work and he was only coming in, a couple of days a week anyway. Until he's back to work, he won't be here.
Fair enough.
So,
So, yeah, Victoria Peterson Lewis will be running the meeting tomorrow night.
okay.
And we met and discussed the agenda for tomorrow night and we modified it a little bit. So the DAF committee will be getting a good understanding of our ESS systems, processes and department from Angela Giles. They'll also be learning about the new secondary dean position and how that's intended to influence the culture at the secondary level and throughout the whole district. And then they'll also be receiving a FY '23 budget update. They received budget information at the beginning of the year. Now they'll be receiving budget information at the end of the year and a little preview into the budget for next year. And then I'll be reporting to them. I'll be doing Tigo's part in giving the DAC an update of this meeting when we meet tomorrow at 5:30 in this very room. And so that's the DAC report.
Did you see secondary dean position?
Yes,
The full-time dean
the
of
full-time
students?
dean.
A
Yes,
full-time
please.
dean, so we have enough to hire for that?
Josh Gardner, yes.
Oh, duh.
Yes, moving
Okay,
in. from-
sorry. My mind's on my phone. Okay. All right, board reports, your LRC, you all, I did send you a report this time.
No, it was awesome.
I can bring it up. Anyway, was there any questions that you had? I just put some of the laws, of course, there's a lot more to look at. And there were some wins and some loses, of course, or losses. Anyway, so we talked about the school finance. I think Chrissy covered that pretty much in the budget thing. Open meetings, long executive session, that was kind of a no-win. Things really didn't change too much there. Explosions or procedure for explosion hearings, that probably will, you'll probably have a policy coming down from CASB on that one, because that is a change. School mental health assessment, that is the iReady program. And I noticed going through the student handbook today, or reading through that, this policy, this Senate Bill 23-249, false reporting of emergency. That's probably gonna play into what's in the handbook, because now it's a class 6 felony. That's
Mhm.
really serious.
And also that policy that we're reviewing
Yeah. Yeah, so that we may have to make some changes there.
again,
So,
correct.
oh, you did, okay.
No, I have not done anything to date, but what I'm saying is it will force us to go back
It
again.
will.
And take
when
another
that
look.
comes through.
Yeah.
The math, in the pre-K to second grade, that's only for after school. So it's not anything that the money can't be used in the classroom, which is, Casby was pretty upset with that one.
Would this be something that we would be applying for a grant, or if we saw the need?
Probably so, yeah, that's the way I would like to roll those out.
Yeah, Casby wanted it and not to be a grant program, but to be fully funded, but they wouldn't do that. And then they wanted to be able to like get a parrot in the classroom or something like that. No, that was no, it was all after school.
Okay.
Prevent harassment and discrimination in schools, that's going to be a policy too. So this is very complex. So if you're interested in that, you have to go back and read the, read the bill. There's a lot to it. And I just wanted to mention the reducing property tax. And I hope you went to the article and read about it. The problem with it is that anytime the school district doesn't get enough from our county in the property taxes, it has to be backfilled from the state. And what they're trying to pull from is the Tabor reserves. The problem is the Tabor reserves are not a funded account. You know, it can go away, they can spend all that, give it back to the taxpayers or whatever, it can become a zero account. And then we're gonna be ended up with another BS problem. That's what they're gonna do. So that's a catch-22. It looks good, but you gotta dive deeper into it.
It's just a runaround table, right?
Yeah. Anyway, and then, oh, sorry, there was a typo there. Look, Lou, opposition may change, sorry about that. But that's basically plays into 303, because they want to count the assessment grades. So anyway, so I encourage you to go on the CASB site and look under LRC. They have their own page and you can see all the laws there, and even look at the bills that they killed. That's an interesting thing to look at too and see what didn't make it. So any questions? Okay, that's all I have. Mr. Figueroa, CASB.
Okay, I just have just a short presentation today. A lot of the CASB stuff has been around legislation, so that's what's come out mostly. But I do want folks to be aware of this. The school board, CASB is going to present an election seminar, and it's on Friday, June 16th. It's for CASB members and potential school board candidates. And basically, the Secretary of State is going to present information around overview of school director election process, which includes the roles and responsibilities of board, designated elected officials, the county clerk and recorder candidates eligibilities, and petition process. Just all the processes to become a board member. The trick here is that this is up in Denver, and they're providing it to on site, but they are recording it and then are going to put it on the website. So I just thought I'd like, people that potentially want to go for the board next year, that they could access that. So I'd like to see us be able to put a link on our website just to be able to see the process, because it would have helped me a lot if I saw all the steps. I basically went to Heather and said, what's exactly the process here?
Right.
So it'd just be nice, if they explain it in a clear way, that they would know all the steps they need to take. So
I think,
it would be on the website after June 16th, I assume. And if we can grab that link, that would be great.
The League of Women Voters in Montezuma County is putting together a school board elections discussion.
I think they
Okay.
already got that.
What is that, do you know?
What's that? I don't know the date, but it was, I think it already happened.
Oh,
it did?
I think so. I was surprised it was happening. So I guess my first comment is, it's really early Yeah, that was my first comment, but to what you're saying, Victor, is that once we get this new board packet, board handbook, we were supposed to pull out some of that content for a one sheet for prospective board members.
Right.
And what I can do is I can provide that and hyperlink it in a Word document or something of that nature, so that folks can go to the recording that you're discussing.
Casby also has a one sheet, or I'll email it to you. They just released.
Oh, they just released it? Okay,
I'll email
cool.
it to you. That was on my list.
Right.
I'll mail it to everybody.
Cool. I know there was one gal, I don't remember her name, at our nonprofit language meeting, she was one that had the baby. And I don't remember her name. I should have written it down, but anyway, she came up to me afterwards and said she was interested in learning.
Okay.
So I'll have to ask, I was gonna ask Tyler, but that was before all this happened with him, but have to get somebody else and I know they know her. I just need to figure out who she is so I can get that information.
Did we capture all those names?
I
Yes.
captured a lot of them. I had them sign in and then I put their email addresses down and I gave them to Todd because I wanted them in a permanent place. So,
Something on that sheet that we give to people needs to be prominent that school board elections are nonpartisan elections. Because I've seen things from left side, right side, talking about how to get in on the ground floor with school board and influencing, and it needs to be made very clear that this is a nonpartisan board. I mean, we all have our philosophies, but as far as elections, as far as how we represent the community, it's a nonpartisan thing.
We
yeah, and
can
that's
pull
what
up that policy and just put it on there.
Yeah, and I actually wrote my comment on that very same thing, because we did have a candidate that had representation from the Democratic Party in Durango. And I thought, oh, so that was actually illegal. You
It
can't
is, that's their statutory requirements for it to be
Yeah.
nonpartisan.
That's good. And then I just want to make folks aware again, I know there's a couple of our board members attending the legislative wrap-up tour, which is tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's 11:30 to 1 at the Durango boardroom. Durango boardroom. And so I know there's a couple folks going from us, and I know they'll come back and just update us on what new information they might have learned. And so that's really my wrap up.
You know, that's the other thing I had on the bottom of mine is resolutions. If the board comes up with resolutions, they're due.
Oh, in August, I think you're
Yeah.
August 31st.
Well, I know, August 31st. So I mean, it's a little bit, I was gonna bring that up in July when we
August
make it a little clearer.
A little fresher.
Yeah, but we do need to do that, though.
Well, yeah, because if you have any resolutions, now's the time to be thinking about it.
Right, sure.
And Matt will actually, you can contact him, he'll actually help you write up the resolution itself. So you don't have to be, I don't know how to do this. He'll help you do that.
And the reason that it needs to happen is because October 21st and 22nd is the legislative aspect, where we vote on the resolutions. So as we get closer, I'll obviously be speaking more to us about what kind of resolutions, if any, do we want? And also see if there's a regional resolution aspect to this, and just ask around, see if anybody has anything.
Yeah, thank you for all of that. I think it's important to note that we had Sherry Wright, who is our regional CASB rep here last week. And I did put out something, kind of a recap of my thinking around it. And I think at some point we need to kind of discuss some deadlines around some of the things that we're asking. Because I didn't feel very clear that I was gonna get that. So I feel like we need to set those if we don't feel like that's going to be happening. Does that make sense? Like I would like to see a regional, a meeting that is based on our needs and our feedback. But I think we really need to have some structure around that. And I didn't necessarily feel like I walked away with that meeting knowing that that was going to come to fruition.
I'd like to follow up with Sherry again and see, and have that discussion more
Yeah,
one-on-one,
yeah,
to see if she'll organize or at least gather information about it,
Yeah.
and then be able to, I can be able to bring it back to us. Or is that not gonna happen, and
yeah.
Yeah,
then,
I mean, it
then,
needs to start like
right,
now, like,
sure,
yeah, it needs to be something that she does annually, or whoever's in that position, and like every August 15th, you have this meeting, and so everybody plans on it.
sure.
It is hard to get together, but even though she had 3 of us and didn't have it, if you got 3, that's the voice, I'm sorry, if everybody else doesn't show up, you know, that's the
Yeah.
voice that we give everybody, because that's who showed up.
Sure.
You know, so tell her 3 is okay, that's okay.
So let me try to follow up with her
Yeah.
and then be able to get back to us, but you might be exactly right, maybe she's not planning to do anything, maybe they're not planning to do anything with our information, but then maybe we can reach out.
yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be really good, and that kind of a next step type thing. All right, any other things for Mr. Figueroa and Kathy? All right, Mrs. Cahill, both of you, BOCES.
Yeah, let me pull up my report, pretty quickly, sorry. Sorry, I think it was at the very beginning, wasn't it? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we, you know, it's pretty much detailed in there, everybody, you know, kind of wrapping up the end of the school, all the various different districts, discussing budget, of course. And so that was, you know, first and foremost, we had, there was a lot of conversation from, Royce in regards to the SAC meeting and trying to that's the SAC meeting is the superintendent meeting, basically. And just making sure that those are becoming a little bit more, effective, maybe is the right word. And so those are gonna be hosted by each district. And so they're gonna be moved around in the forthcoming school year. So each district will hold a superintendent's meeting. And I think the intention was to like kind of maybe give a little flavor of your district and to spur on more conversation and such. Let's see, they reviewed the gifted and talented data from all the districts at the SAC meeting. And then, let's see here, I believe there is an agreement on, between the districts now on placing high needs students into other districts. So there's some maybe agreement on what are the economies around that, where there was a little, I think there was some difficulties in the past, if I'm expressing that correctly. They had Jenny Trujillo from Fort Lewis College presented at SAC, and BOCES is looking at working with Fort Lewis to try to capture some of their students into BOCES. Fort Lewis works with the districts to place teachers and such, but they don't currently work with BOCES. So BOCES is really trying to build staff from local entities. Stacy Baxter is the Cortez district coordinator, and she is not renewing. So there's going to be that's a big. They're very, I think they're concerned about filling that position. She is going to stay with BOCES as a speech pathologist. So that's all in there. Mr. Burris, the superintendent of Montezuma Cortez District, did do a presentation talking about kind of his point of view on and his assessment of BOCES. I won't go into it too much. There's quite a few bullet points in there. He is currently, you know, I did express on our school's behalf, but really for BOCES, the concern that we have that he has legitimate concerns. He's doing an outside audit. But ultimately there it is going to be very difficult to find if Cortez does in fact pull out of the San Juan BOCES, to find professionals to fill Cortez district plus the San Juan BOCES. Am I speaking out of turn with that?
No.
And his biggest issue has been with the special ed
Yeah,
program in particular.
Yes, yes,
He thinks he can, I mean, I know Tom real well. and I
yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
a little.
Yeah, so I did advocate on behalf of our school district and and I did ask that to make sure that our executive director of BOCES does have an action plan presented to the district. It does have deadlines and dates on there. And that BOCES needs to work very closely with the district, because I think there's a lot of students it's going to affect in our area. And so it's very concerning, and my dearest hope is that they can find a path forward. So there's that. The 23-24 financial report was presented. And then the last piece goes really to Emily's bailiwick. It is the policy that'll be coming down. There's probably a recommended policy about medically necessary treatment in school setting. I can give you, BOCES took CASB's policy and modified it. And so, but it sounds like most of the districts have this in place already, so it's something we may need to pull to the top. It's probably not as a great concern since students will be out of class soon, but it is something we need to get rolling before the new new year. So that policy is embedded in my report. Okay, that's it.
any questions, comments?
One comment I'd like to share around that too is Katie shared that they shared gifted and talented information with us, and our school district was recognized as being very much proportional with our demographics are reflected in our gifted and talented population. In one area, we were a little bit out of proportion, but in a very positive light. Our Native American students are identified as gifted and talented at a rate of about 9.5%. So about 2 percentage points above the district gifted and talented area. And so I thought that was worth noting.
Yeah.
And that was new information for me when I learned it at that meeting. And so I just wanted to share it here, because I feel like that's kind of we have some very diligent staff working with our students that have that plan. And so I just wanted to share that.
Okay.
One thing, I just want to go back to the LRC for next year. Somebody needs to take on that position. We haven't had a representative on LRC. I was the first one. And you really need to keep that going. We get so much information. It is the second and fourth Fridays of every month. It's Zoom. But the meetings are an hour and a half to 2 hours. Yeah. So it's a lot, but it only goes legislative calendar. So basically you're really busy from January to, it's already over. So the first part of May. So it's that winter time, but I'd encourage you to keep that going. All right. Discussion on impact fees, Dr. Lynn.
We have a
Oh, sorry, I
superintendent
skipped
and finance
superintendent's
report.
report. Oh,
I am ready.
wow.
So the first thing is I would just like to recognize our graduates at graduation this Sunday. It was a really good graduation ceremony. Our students certainly make us proud, and they're certainly the best part of the school district. their accomplishments are really exceptional. And I'm sure Mr. Figueroa will attest to that. He's got a very special graduate that graduated on Sunday, and she was recognized quite a bit throughout that we have 30 kiddos to be very proud of. I'd also like to just point out that, as we wrap up this school year, we had 2 new leaders at our school level. Tara took over as our director at the Mancos Early Learning Center this year, and I thought she did an exceptional job in her first year at that role. And then we also had Ed take over at the secondary level, and I'm equally proud of his work at the secondary level also. Those 2 individuals really stepped up and really added to the climate and culture and performance of our school district. Our entire existing staff really performed well this year. I'm very proud of all the staff this year, really just did exceptional work. I felt like we had a very successful school year, and I'm excited for some of the new staff that we're gonna be hiring today as part of this agenda as well. And then I wanted to remind the board that we're having a barbecue hamburgers this Thursday. So that'll be, right around 12 o'clock. And it's an affordable luncheon, should be a lot of fun. So I encourage the board to join us if you're all available. And then also I'd like to this year we're wrapping up kind of a legacy opportunity, a legacy moment. So I'd like to take this time just to recognize Principal Epps' 9 years at the elementary principal role. That's a really long time to be in that role. And that's a lot of responsibility and a lot of pressure. And so I just wanted to recognize her for all her excellence in that role over those 9 years. I'm excited that she'll be going into the 3rd grade next year and staying a Blue Jay and following her passions and wanting to do that. That's exceptional. So definitely a Blue Jay at heart and definitely bleeds blue. And I just wanted to recognize her in this environment for 9 years as the elementary school principal. That's just quite an accomplishment. And then what I wanted to focus most of my report on today is the role of the Board of Education. Every 2 years, there's a new Board of Education, and in November, there'll be a new board. But just as we recognize this board for what they've accomplished in the last 2 years, I think we've seen a board that has really poured themselves into their board work. And it's worth sharing with the public in this environment. This board has brought us compliance with all of our school district policies. And now they're actively working to make sure those policies are Mancos appropriate and are Mancos centric. So that's a mountain of work, and I applaud this board for doing that work. This board also adopted school district goals as a school district. If as an organization, we're interested in improving, and it's hard to improve unless you have goals to strive for. So this board went through a process and got input from staff in the community and adopted school district goals. They also implemented a rigorous evaluation for the superintendent role. And I appreciate that because as an organization, everyone needs to be evaluated so that we can all grow into the professionals we want to be. This board also is on the end stages of having a handbook for all future school boards to follow. And that's been a process as well. It's rigorous and it's smart work. This Board of Education has been active with professional development. You made it a point to get professional development from CASB. You've made it a point to get professional development around our strategic plan. And you've gotten some excellent professional development as it relates to trauma informed. This board also made it a point to recognize our staff at Christmas with Christmas bonuses. And that's a really sweet thing to do, and also a very timely thing for our staff. We know we don't pay our staff what we'd like to pay them. So recognizing them at that time with a Christmas bonus is really a warm thing to do, and also a very meaningful thing to do. This board is active with the CASB reports and the CASB committee, the BOCES committee, and the LRC committees. Those are ongoing duties and work that this volunteer board does for the good of our school district, and that should be recognized. In addition, this board has made compensation a top priority for us as a school district. It's our school district #1 fiscal priority, and that's to raise what we pay our staff. We know we have the best staff in the county, if not the region, and I appreciate this board making, codifying that and making it an effort that we get our staff paid closer to what they're worth. This school district has really put in place a fidelity to the strategic plan. Every single month, you've evaluated the strategic plan according to the objectives and given thoughtful insight on how well we're doing as a strategic plan according to the school district that we want to be. And on June 1st, you'll be doing the final work of that for this school year as you make modifications, little tweaks to the strategic plan so that we can continue to improve as a school district. And then finally, while this is a voluntary position and a voluntary role, you all have raised your hand to meet on a regular basis for monthly work sessions in addition to your monthly meetings. And so this is definitely just a group that is interested in doing the work and doing it well and to the best of your ability. So I just wanted to highlight these things that the Board of Education is doing. It's by far the most difficult volunteer work you can do in a community. So as we look to a new board in November, you've set a high standard for the next board as well. And President Coppinger, your leadership has just been exceptional. So thank you.
Thank you.
And that's my board report.
Thank you. All right, finance report.
So today you guys will see on the action items, the May budget, the preliminary that you guys will approve. We went over everything in pretty good detail last Monday. And as I kind of told you in the work session tonight, nothing has changed at this point. I'm sure we'll see a few adjustments by the time we hit the June budget next month. As Todd said, our goal was to increase compensation as much as possible. So I just kind of want to say publicly what we were able to accomplish there. So with our classified staff, we were able to incorporate a 16.91% increase on the base. And this increase will ensure that all staff starts at least $15 an hour. So that was a huge increase for them. The certified teaching staff, the base salary at each step will receive $3,000, equivalent to an 8.82% raise. They will also receive a step at both of these levels. The classified and the certified will also see that raise plus an additional step for each of those. Admin staff received a 5% raise on the base as well. And then our professional staff received an 8.82% on that base with a step to each of one of those employees. So that was probably one of the biggest, I think it is the biggest raise we ever gave as a district. So I'm very grateful we were able to do that. I wish it was more,
but it's a step in the right direction, for sure. So I just wanted to make sure that that was announced tonight. So you will also see tonight on action items salary schedules to reflect those raises, so you will be approving those as well this evening. But we'll be working, and I'll fine tune this preliminary budget into June, which will then be our operating budget for the school year until October count hits, and then we true up our numbers in January. But so next month I'll give you a more fine-tuned budget, but the salaries will be definitely set at that point. So that's really all I have.
Any questions? All right, thank you. All right, now discussion item, sorry. Impact fees, there's a letter in our board packet that you all read.
And I can speak to that as well. So as part of the school board giving me the charge to really address staff compensation, and especially as it relates to retention and recruitment, the Education Solutions Task Force was created. And one of the committees of the task force was administrative changes. And Dr. Linda Simmons is on that committee. And she did the research around the impact fees. And she discovered that we hadn't changed our impact fees in about 17 years. And we were the lowest school district where they charge builders to build a new home in the area, and really by a substantial amount. And so what you have is her memo and also an action item where we'll be adjusting the impact fees from $276 to $550 for this upcoming year. And also a pathway over the next 6 years so we could get more in line with our other school districts in the area. I have to tell you that working with Dr. Linda Simmons was really a pleasure. I did not really know her before this process. She's incredibly bright and diligent, and that's what's reflected in her memo. And that's what you'll see as the action item. We also shared this information with the town and with the county because they are our partners in this process. And we also got legal advice on the best wording for the resolution, which is before you tonight. So this was a new process for me. So we believe we are doing it correctly. But if it comes back as we need to tweak it, you'll know why. There's a legal component to this that it has to be followed closely. But our attorney did review it, and I think we're gonna get it right the first time. And that's before you today.
I introduced the P and U up to the school 17 years ago. At that point in time, because it is appropriate for development to pay its own way. However, fees all around have been increasing everywhere. And it makes it onerous. 7.3% of what I have to pay to build a new house is in fees. That, gets translated into non-affordable housing.
Right.
Raising these by flat rates is another issue that's a very problematic for me. Because it's per residence, and if I'm building a duplex on a single site, I have to pay twice the amount. It's per residence. This fee should be on a percentage basis based on what the town does for their permit fees. They base their permit fees on a percentage basis of what the cost of the building is gonna be. And I think that would be appropriate, and I did some math. My calculations show a reasonable fee would be a 0.0015%. So on a $500,000 home, that would be a $750 fee. On a $250,000 home, which is more in line with affordable housing, that'd be a $375 fee. Making it this flat fee per residence makes it onerous on the lower income category than on those that are putting more investment into their properties in their homes. I would much rather see this based on a percentage base than, and I don't know how the exact, I haven't looked at the legislation for it to see if it's based on, if it has to be a flat fee or if it has to be, if it can be based on a percentage. But I believe it has, we have the capability to do it on a percentage base. But that's, without legal people, have to check that for certain. But raising, especially those rates going up to over $1,000 for the fee in lieu of, I mean, I would rather donate because I can donate a 6 square foot parcel of a property to the school because this is a fee in lieu of donating property. And it can turn out to be, if you raise the rates too high, you're gonna get a lot of pushback on those kind of levels. A big development would be great to see them be donating a bunch of property to the school so we could continue with our development of housing and whatever else we're gonna be doing with school properties. But I am not in favor of this particular raise in fees, even though I'm in favor of having a fee in lieu of.
Well, it's clear we're not in line with what the other regions are doing. I guess my question I would pose to you, Mr. Hunter, is that if you could find out what the state statute has, and if we could do a percentage and come back with something of that nature, I would be happy to look at that, but
Well, and I understand that we're not in line, and I don't see why we have to add to inflation in our district. Because that's what we're doing, we're adding to inflation by doing these kind of fee increases. And
it's pretty modest compared to the other communities, let's be honest. Let's be honest, I mean, $835 to $1,044 in Cortez. And Dolores collects $535.
And we're at 276.
And it hasn't been, we haven't seen an adjustment in this since 2006.
I understand,
Probably when you presented it.
Yeah.
So, A, thank you. Yeah, I just, yeah. I would, if there's an alternative, I would be happy to review it, but I do think we need to do something.
Yeah, my 2 cents would be, I would, if we knew that we could do a percentage versus a flat fee, and if we did the rough math based on historical bills, I would bet a percentage may even bring about a higher return to the
well,
district.
it would, like I say, that's just it, we did that percentage. Because there's a lot of places that are being built for more money.
Right,
Right.
but my question is that legal per statute? Because other districts
Everybody seems
are
to
doing flat fees, so, I mean, we're all about being new and different, we've done that historically with everything, right? So this might be a place to go, but someone has to go do that research before we can say, yes,
That
let's
would
do
be
it that way.
talking to Tim Farmer or somebody who could get the information legally for us.
I would assume.
Todd, what is the process? I mean, do all the agencies having to adopt this, or is this just the district having to adopt this?
No, I think it's my understanding, after we adopt a resolution, then it goes to the town for the residents that are built within the town limits, and then it goes to the county, and their boards, their government entities also have to approve it,
Right,
and
and the numbers that you have on this resolution, those were all reviewed by all the different agencies, and basically their board said, yeah, it sounds okay, or
no, they'll follow us.
they'll follow us.
Yeah, we're step one in the governmental process.
Okay,
And I shared with them the memo as well, to explain where our rationale would be coming from.
mhm. So can we follow up and see if there's a percentage, I mean, at least
Sure.
due
We
diligence,
could
I mean,
table
just
that,
because
that one.
it can affect us long term. Can we look to see if there's a percentage and then maybe come back with the resolution
Yeah,
next board meeting?
I'd love to work with Mr. Hunter and Mr. Farmer on putting that together.
I'm reading the statute right now, but it's a long one. Let's just do that.
Okay. All right, PBL, 3-year professional development plan.
So this is the plan you've seen before you. This is the plan that really fortifies our commitment to project-based learning, which is significant in our strategic plan. And it's just before you today for final approval.
And this is the same thing that we talked about this before.
Yes, it's exactly what we saw last month.
And nothing's changed on
Nothing's
the
changed.
plan since the last time?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions about the PBL? All right, board handbook? Where are we at on that?
Oh, that's me, sorry. Yes, we are, you were given literature to review, and I asked for comment. Mr. Figueroa was kind enough to put together the, just kind of a quick overview of the linkage program, so that could be embedded, and he sent that out to all of you. So really, all we need to do is you guys, if you have any objections to anything included, this would be the time, otherwise I'll pull it all together. I will add page numbers, do a table of contents, or Emily already put the table of contents, but there's some reordering of it and all of that, so if you have anything to say it now.
Did you guys do the acronyms? I know there was some
I did.
conversation.
Yep, I took Tim's photograph of all the acronyms, so and terminology, and so that is in there as well. It's I don't know if that needs to be reviewed by us per se, but these are, just know that all of us, this is ours, right? So this is not, this can be, it flushed out as we go along, but we have to start somewhere. This is a good, I think, a great start. I think the one thing that was not in your packet that I am gonna provide for anything that is applicable will be examples of things. Like, if we're talking about, say, so the superintendent review example is in there, but if we're, looking at board policies, maybe I put the template to, work through both board policies or like a little graph or something like that. Just a way for people to just kind of get it and it's digestible and at your fingertips. So that, and then what I will have done for you by our next meeting, I'll have the finished board handbook for everyone. And then also I will have the one sheet for the prospective board members. And we're still on our timeline to have that done by July. And I believe August is when petitions people come in for petitions, so we'll have as much information for folks to have,
August 9th.
August 9th. Excellent.
That's perfect timing.
Yeah, yep, and I think actually that's actually on the key events page as well. I refer to my own work. So
Under the acronyms, the handbook, the student handbook also had a page on acronyms.
oh, okay, cool.
So you might just.
Yeah, that's right.
and see.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So if we're cool, I'll just have it, yeah, no, I'm happy to do it. Thank you to Heather for helping me. And so we'll basically have binders with some tabs, numbering, and then also if everybody, if they don't have a Robert's Rules, will get one of those. And then incoming board members will have the big blue book of statutes. And so, yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Katie.
Mhm.
Any more questions? All right, CASB discussion. That was the one we put on, you already did it.
What's
You're
that?
talking about getting a timeline for Sherry on.
Oh, yeah.
Actual.
I jumped in, sorry.
Yeah, that. That's all right, so I think we kind of killed that one already. Are you right, okay with that? Okay, then we have policy review. CBB, CC, CF, and CH.
So those are the policies that are actually being presented, meaning they're
Right,
just
this is
being
the very
handed
first
off to
time.
introduce to you so that you can read. I did send out a policy review commentary track changes document to everyone. And so as you go through these policies, if you can put your commentary either in there directly on the Google Doc, or you can email it to me. You can Pony Express it to me. I don't really care. I just want the feedback so we can get it in one place, right? And then that particular document will then help us to process through the timeline on the policies as they're presented and the commentary. So those policies, again, there's just a very few of them because there were only a very few that were there were 2 that had changes and 2 that were new. So that's why there's only 4. Now, later in the meeting, we do have first reading, discussion and vote around another set of policy. All of that feedback is in that policy review document, which is what I would have available. And then our final discussion and vote is on 2 policies at the end of the meeting. And hopefully you all did receive that. GBEB that has a change in it with a note going forward.
Yeah. And that's the one that this one bill that went through May.
Will obviously affect down the road.
Yeah.
So knowing that that's, potential, you just keep an eye on it and all of,
Cassie will
it's
send it.
interesting, right?
I'll
Yeah,
send an update, so.
all of those come back around. So we keep, and same with the BOCES policy or the policy brought up in the BOCES meeting, the JLCDC. And I did confirm that we do not have a specific JLCDC,
Right,
but we will.
yeah.
So now it's
Yeah,
on the list.
I looked online.
Yeah.
So is the GBEB -R, is that going to be adopted or approved today?
It should be, yes, as well as IG.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I went through this today and I think I'm right, that the red is what's new, correct?
The,
The change.
are you talking about the GBEB?
Any of them, where that you have the strike throughs.
Correct.
And then the red is that where it's been changed.
Correct, the red is what's new. Now, there is a red strike through on that GBEB-R
Yeah.
because it was our 3rd revision, so it didn't make sense to turn it to blue, because it wasn't originally stricken.
Right,
And then we did make note that we apply that towards the future.
okay,
And I think that makes it nice and clean and kind of wraps it up so we can move forward and keep working.
right. Thank you for that. And if you guys notice that Emily put a lot of work into that and is taking out all of the policies that we don't really need to look at and just made it a lot more simple, that we're only looking at the policies that actually need our attention.
Correct.
So, thank you for that, because we're not reading, 50 policies.
There's still a lot of A's and B's, but they're not as bad as they were.
That is true. Okay. Strat plan. Okay, so objective 1A, our use of project-based learning to connect our students with professionals and place students in our local businesses and organizations provide authentic learning experiences. Trying to bring that up. Okay. So the rating is approaching standard. And that's the one that she gave us, because she made a change in the language.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that we discussed in the work session was that Adian provided a really nice table of examples. And I think she is going to, just because it's the end of the year, I think she's gonna go back to some staff and just make sure it's an accurate representation of what grades are doing what with what entities or other professionals, and bringing all of those various different examples bringing professionals and into our organization. And so I think she's gonna flush that out, but, and then, of course, it looks like we're going to maybe do some work at the retreat on the strategic plan around this particular objective and some of the redundancy that it has in 4C, if I understand correctly.
Correct, that's correct.
Okay, yeah, so that makes all sense.
Okay, thank you for that little summary. Yeah, I really liked where she got the form added, what, where the students had gone. And I think, Emily, you pointed out that we need to get the mentors that worked with Todd's group.
Well, any of the Pathways programs had a ton of different,
Yeah.
experts that were,
and they need to be
helping with the
included.
welding and the drones, and I think if we just go through our Pathways alone, we could probably increase that list significantly, and to your point, it's kind of the end of the year, she's scrambling to try and
Yeah.
catch up.
Yeah.
So this one we actually would improve in June, I believe, right?
Yeah, and that, just so that the folks understand that that table would really be evidence to support that we're doing this work, basically.
Right, and I just want to reiterate that too, because the objective itself is becoming more clear, and that's what Ariana's trying to do. But we also need that evidence base of what is that evidence gonna be, and that, and listing the organizations and listing student engagement with internships or with work study, all of that's evidence, and then the board needs to decide what of that reaches the level of meeting the standard or above standard, which doesn't exist, in my opinion, at this point in this
Right.
particular objective.
And we can add that to objective when we do our meeting together, so. All right, any more on objective 1A? All right, let's move on to, now this is the board action to accept the objective report, objective 4C. Is by using a student-centered model, Mancos students will have the opportunity to identify and pursue individual interests and talents. Students can demonstrate mastery of grade level content through these academic pursuits. Comments, questions? This one. This one, overall rating, they'd like to see is at standard.
I did notice that.
Notice that.
When I noticed the at standard, my question on my list here is, are we sure it's at standard, or are we sure we're not approaching standard?
I have the same thing, especially when I was looking at some of the capstone projects, and I mean, they're still building that, right? The digital portfolios, the documentation. And that's where I have my question on some of the documentation. To me, wasn't there because you're supposed to have a recap of your internship or whatever it is, your work study, whatever it is the kids are involved with, and they were having a hard time, I think Tiffany was having a hard time tracking some down. And so she did a one-on-one conversation and that they were using that as the criteria was met. But to me, it needs to be written down and recorded.
Right, and I actually have a bit of a note, and I put it into my feedback that we had discussed at one time as a board, and I think this was early on in the year, the need for advisory time related to students and this particular initiative or objective, I'm sorry. Just so that it was equitable and fair across the board. And so I think just based on that alone, I would feel more comfortable with approaching, because we've not yet even given the opportunity for them to have the time.
To Emily's point, if I recall, are we embedding more of that time into next year's schedule? Okay, so to me, that does mean we're approaching, we're making those steps, but we have not yet met those. And I do think we do need documentation. I think it's an important piece, like when I think about like our presentation about MTSS, I think like the documentation is an important aspect of our processes. So.
Agreed.
I think that kind of over that. Victor or Tim has anything to add?
Yeah, I agree with everybody said there, and I believe that's where we're at too. So,
I made the same comment as far as approaching.
Okay.
So,
So, yeah, we may need to pull that one.
well, can we make a motion to approve it as written with approaching
Yes.
standard?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would make a motion to approve objective 4C as written,
and I,
approaching standard.
and I second it.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve objective C4C as approaching standard. Any more discussion? All right, Heather, call the question, please.
Katie Cahill, please. Aye. Pam Carpenter.
Aye.
Mr. Figueroa.
Aye.
Kim Hunter.
Aye.
Jason Brown.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. All right, action items.
I have a couple of comments, so I always mess up these consent motions.
Yeah, let's
Well, which ones would
Let's
you like
do
to
A
not?
through K. Let's,
Well, I have a comment on I, but it is really just a matter of administrative course.
But that can be done in discussion.
Can it?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, as
that's fine.
long, yeah.
It's just commentary.
It's just commentary.
But
Same with L.
when we do that as a group, I was gonna say, I'd like to have a little bit more discussion around Q, the LA curriculum.
Yes.
Should we pull that or just do it?
I was-
as a whole?
I think Katie's right, A through K.
I would even offer up to L.
I have
Yeah.
a question on the calendar. What was the bright green?
Well, that's discussion.
I have to bring it up. I think that was the very last one. I just had a question
You're
on,
moving to go through L.
I think we can go A through L and then a couple of things in discussion. Is that?
I would second that.
Okay,
through L.
A through L as consent.
A through L is consent.
A motion and a second
Now discussion.
to approve A through L action items. Now discussion.
On I, we are missing the actual position on the document itself, and since it's a new hire, that's probably a bit of a priority we want. If we can make that
You
change.
want the description of?
The entire position title is missing on the hire recommendation form. There's no position, so it's just the name of the person, there's no position. So we'll need to make sure that
That's right. I remember that too. Yeah.
that position needs to
It's
be.
on here now. The contract, right?
yeah.
For Sarah?
It just isn't on the recommendation, which is all we see.
Oh, I have it on this one. I don't know.
I just, yeah, Todd, on this, the academic calendar, I have a bright green thing, and I don't know whether that's just supposed to be green. I didn't, it isn't in the
Key.
yeah, in the key at all, and I just didn't know what it was. There's just my computer.
Did you see it? I can't.
Yeah, I think those are just green.
Okay.
My only question on L was, I just wanted some clarification around snow days. Since we just had Snowmageddon, I would like to know how that's gonna apply to us based on this particular academic calendar next year, because we didn't call it out. That was my only question.
We have about 5.9 snow days built into this academic calendar.
Okay.
Is that what we had last year, Todd, or is that an increase?
It's a little bit of a decrease,
Oh, it is a
actually.
little bit, okay.
Chances of having them many like last winter.
But sure.
Yeah.
Well, you just did it.
No.
Darn good.
That's the one.
Is it a significant increase, like one or two?
No, just like one or two.
Okay,
It's 7 minutes for the high school students at lunch. Is the
Oh,
difference.
that's, oh,
That's the difference.
Did you increase the lunchtime?
We did, by
Yeah.
7 minutes.
survey says.
Good job,
job.
Seven minutes. That's so good.
That's awesome. You need to be sure to tell the students that.
I was gonna say, make sure you point that out, so it's your win. You're great at responding to the feedback, but not always pointing out your win.
That's a win-win.
That's a win for those students. That's great.
Absolutely.
7 minutes.
7 minutes.
There we go. They got it. All right, any more discussion? No. All right, Heather, call the question, please.
Katie King Holdwell,
Aye.
Pam Carpenter,
Aye.
Victor Figueroa,
Aye.
Dan Hunter,
Aye.
Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Aye.
Okay, we're to M.
Okay, I make a motion to table M so that we can get further information, and, from Mr. Hunter and Mr. Cordray and possibly representation as well. If we table it, we need to put a deadline.
Definitely.
Yes.
Next-
What does that look like?
I mean, next meeting, I mean, it'll take us a little, a call and then probably a
We have
call
a
back.
resolution ready for the next.
Next
meeting.
board
meeting,
I second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second to table M, adopt the resolution to increase the school round dedication fee for more research. And Tim Hunter and Todd Cordry will employ Mr. Farmer as well to get some information, and they will bring back a resolution for our June board meeting. Sound good?
Great.
All right, any discussion?
One quick question, you said it was a process to get this going, like it has to go to town to then county. What does the chronology look like of that time process, or like how long does that take?
Once we pass it, we'll send it to those two entities, and
Yes,
then it's up to them to put it on their calendars.
I see, so it is really, okay, fair enough.
And they have in the past, whenever the discussions come up, they put it right onto their,
Yeah.
their next agenda.
Okay, so whenever if we move forward to pass a resolution at the next board meeting, feasibly, it could be in,
It's in July, they could.
In
it could
July,
be
August.
Passed and in effect in July.
okay, fair enough, okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, Heather, call the question, please.
Katie King Holdwell,
Aye.
Pam Carpenter,
Aye.
Victor Figueroa,
Aye.
Dan Hunter,
Aye.
Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Now we're to N.
I move that we approve PPO professional development expenditure using ending fund balance.
I second that motion.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to approve the PBL professional development expenditure using ending fund balance.
Mhm.
Any discussion?
I would ask, and I apologize for not asking in the discussion items, not feeling my best. Do we have a plan, Todd, to address the questions that were brought up by the staff? As I read through that document, there was just and it wasn't long, but there was a set of questions. Either have we addressed, or do we plan on addressing or attempting to address those questions to the staff in a manner in which makes them maybe more comfortable or allows them to just feel as though when they step into this,
Yeah.
that they kind of know where they're going?
I know that Audion has had conversations with staff around those questions. We may not know it was a
It was a blind
Right.
survey.
right,
And that was my thought was, do we do a document out that says, here are some questions
yeah,
or concerns, and just blind answer them back?
yeah, and I don't think, we've not done that. So, I'll make sure that we do that though, and that is something that Audion is all over, and she's our district voice on that, and she's got a great voice on this matter.
Okay.
Now, is there gonna be a professional development day in August when the staff comes back around PBL?
I don't know for sure. I haven't scheduled that yet. I wanted to get this passed first, see if it passes.
I just, Kathy talked about using the first 2 days that they're back for the elementary staff to go through the new curriculum for reading.
Right.
So I just wondered I only got 5 days,
Mhm.
not a lot of time.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes, and I did, one of the major things is I did confirm with both of our strong candidates for the Mancos Elementary School principal position, if they could do this summer PD,
Okay.
and they both confirmed that they could. And so that was not an issue.
Good.
And same with the June first board work session around the strategic plan.
Good.
So those were confirmed by both candidates.
Awesome.
Thank you. All right, any other discussion? All right, Heather, call the question, please.
Katie Cahill Wilby. Aye. Pam Coffinger.
Aye.
Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Dan Hunter.
Aye.
Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Aye.
Motion passes 9-0. Okay, we're on to O.
Oh, and
O and P maybe?
I make a motion to approve both O and P
I'll
as
second.
presented.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion for, action item O and P to approve the, 24, FY 24 salary schedule and the May preliminary budget. Any discussion? All right, Taylor, call the question, please.
Katie Cahill Wilby.
Aye.
Pam Coffinger.
Aye.
Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Dan Hunter.
Aye.
Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
So we have to make a motion and a second and then a discussion. Okay. So I make a motion to approve the ELA curriculum.
I second that.
Okay, got a motion and a second to approve the ELA curriculum discussion.
In what timeline or capacity?
So,
That's the discussion.
yeah, so one of my first, there's been so many moving parts around this particular thing that are just kind of out of alignment. And I was really appreciative of Ms. Epps to kind of outline kind of what spurred us not being compliant with our, am I saying this correctly? We were not compliant with our READ Act curriculum in order to receive READ Act money.
We are.
Or we were, but,
Journeys is compliant.
No, we fell out of compliance due to training, I believe. So we were compliant, then we were non-compliant for a year. Do you know differently?
No, it's not. I think the wording, Emily, is more. I won't say that we weren't compliant. We just didn't get funds. We didn't get the training, so
We
we
weren't
didn't get
doing
the
the
funds,
training.
but that's not out of compliance.
okay, thank you for that
Yeah.
clarification. Yeah, we were not,
Dollars.
Yeah.
our current curriculum was not going to get funds,
So
correct?
they couldn't get materials.
Well, it was the training, that
Okay.
the reason that we didn't get funded was because we didn't get the training.
Okay,
But
yeah.
we had to, curriculum.
But we found this out in December, and so there's been this accelerated process. So we're approving a policy about curriculum, right? And curriculum adoption, while that process was happening, and the two aren't exactly in sync together, so that's been a little concern. And then I feel like we're adding on a piece and we're adding on a piece of having a new principal who's about ready to take the next steps in implementing PBL within the school and then, or continuing implementing PBL with the curriculum. And I just feel rushed, right? But then I also feel rushed because of the money and the budgetary. So I guess my question is that if we were able to have a conversation with the new principal about concerns, that would put my mind at ease. Does that make sense?
I would concur in that. Given the amount of funds that we're applying towards PBL, given the amount of time that we're putting into the initiative of PBL, along with the amount of time we're putting into an actual elementary READ Act approved curriculum and money, knowing that our leadership will change, as well as the kind of the trajectory a bit, right, of the teaching expectations in each building. My commentary around 1, 3, and 5 year wasn't just simply focused around money. It ties us into a program for a period of time. So we're tying in not just our teachers and our students, but we're tying in our leadership. And the way I heard the Journeys conversation was that Journeys is still out there, but the consumables are no longer available. They can no longer purchase the workbooks and the things that they're using for all of the children.
Right.
They cannot get those things in hand.
Journeys that is available, I understood, was a different Journeys, it's not the same one that they're using.
Okay, either way.
Yeah.
That's where the rush came from, was they couldn't get the materials that the teachers then would use to give to the children.
Yeah.
So that is what spurred this process.
And that's further quickly.
Quickly, right, and so to Katie's point, it does feel very rushed. It does feel disjointed in regard to not just the policy we're approving this evening, but the policy as it already had stood written. We did not follow the policy as it was stood written really well, but not to the fault of the district. I think it's just tough to get people to show up and join a committee and opine, and, we heard how hard that was. I too would love to have our new leadership opine on this particular piece, as well as offer a recommendation on a timeline. Because there has to be a way that if we didn't want to commit to 5 years, that we could save ourselves, almost $30,000 and say, we're gonna do this for a year. Okay, maybe we don't get as good of a deal, but at the end of the day, is that harmful? Should we not tie ourselves into something for 5 years, knowing that perhaps there might be some turn in the structure of PBL and leadership and teaching and materials, and there's just too many things on the table to commit to a curriculum, in my opinion, for 3 to 5 years. And I know it's more money and more spend, but it's 5 years' time. That's an entire elementary career for a child. That's a long time.
So she also made a real concerted point to say that it takes a year or two. I mean, a year to get trained and sort of up to speed, the second year to get comfortable with it.
Uh-huh,
And it's into the third year that it actually
true.
is accomplishing.
It's hard to jump around curriculum, that's really hard.
And that's, certainly a point. I'm not advocating for a year. I'm advocating for not 5. I think that is a mistake.
Yeah.
That's
And that
why
doesn't mean we can't keep going.
Sure.
Moving forward, and yes, it might cost us something, or we could have saved money, or we can pivot from there. Yeah, I don't know, it's been a tough process to watch, but now it was really helpful to hear Ms. Epps kind of flush out kind of why, because I know, and Chrissy, I apologize, and Todd, that you guys probably articulated that to me, but maybe I just didn't get the full picture until tonight, and so I'm sure you guys are like, yeah, we told you that.
Well, there's a lot to consider,
Yeah.
a lot. There's the advanced literacy solutions, the ELL piece, I did not realize that really read was K through 3, right, or 2.
Right.
And that leaves this big gap, right? But there's a lot of curriculums that are K through 3. I mean, it's just fascinating. I did not realize all of that. So to make a decision with just the information that's in front of us pretty quickly is a hard decision to make.
So clarification, because I still don't know, you guys are not saying that we shouldn't adopt it, that you don't really want to adopt it at 5 years. Are we saying we want to adopt something, but we want to adopt it for less years? Is that what we're saying, or what are we saying?
I personally am saying I would like the new elementary school principal's eyes on it before we do anything. And then we can adopt it. Now, if that means it needs a special meeting on June 1st, where we're all gonna be together, then so be it.
I'm
I'll do
fine with
that.
too.
Yeah, that could be a Zoom or something like that.
I'd rather do a
We
special.
did that day.
Yeah, but if we have to do a special meeting on
won't be
Zoom,
together
because we
anyway.
We
can't.
can do a special, we can declare a special meeting for a certain segment of the agenda.
Correct, yeah,
Right,
because we do have that June 31st timeline.
right. And it's
Right.
We have a little
15
bit of room.
It would be like 15 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all you do. That
Correct.
was the only
That's-
item on the agenda.
That's what I'd like, and maybe in the interim, maybe I can, put some specific questions down, for him, so that, you know, maybe that I have, or maybe we could collectively all put that together.
That would be, I think, ideal. If
Yeah.
we could put some questions down for him to address and then call that back to attention through a special meeting because of the timeline. That's money we're not gonna leave on the table. But
So can I suggest, I mean, we have 2 meetings in June. We have our work session.
we have a work
And
session.
we do part of that work session to be a board meeting to address this issue and then go back into work session.
Yeah, because this meeting would be a special, and it'd be like 15 minutes.
That's what I'm
Because that's the only.
Instead of making another day on top of the work session we already have.
Exactly.
As long as he has time.
So then I just have some
Did you make that motion?
questions
I did,
about
I did.
the process.
She did.
So if we want to change this, you just need to amend the motion.
I will, yeah,
Okay.
there's
I
still a
just-
little bit more.
Yeah, I just have a question about the process. I know parents, it's hard to get them, but why couldn't you have parents involved all the way through it with the teachers? You know, that's what I would like to see for future years, is, you know, they could have pulled in, you know, I'm sure there are parents, I'm sure they could have gotten more than 2, you know, to meet with the teacher, because, you know, what she gave us, I don't have the thing, but it would be fascinating for parents to see all the different elements of reading.
Well, and the
Yeah.
parents we got are teachers, except for
Yeah.
Katie. And Katie is very connected to the district as well. So I would, to your point, you would think we could do something.
Yeah, I would
If
involve
we can
them.
get all those watchdog dads for pizza,
There you
then
go.
let's buy pizza. I don't care what we
There
gotta
you
do, but I mean, we're getting some traction in other areas.
I would just include that, so it's not an extra that they have to do. It's already in what they're doing.
Right.
Does that make sense?
And not to belabor this, but you have your DAC meeting, and I know you have your agenda already set. But it might be something, you know, like to share with them and like
Yeah.
keep a very finite conversation with them on what we have in front. And if they have any concerns, now would be, I mean, I appreciate what she gave them was kind of like the overview, but now we have some specificity around what we're looking at, so.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have you, and Dak should have been, and we can actually charge them with that to review, review curriculum.
Well, it's part of our policy.
You know, but it just, there wasn't enough time in this particular scenario to do that. But we, in the past, we used to have to do that. So because they're an advisory committee to the board, so they look over this, but I would like to see them, parents work in conjunction with the teachers. I think that would solve all of that, because I know they have parents that are teachers, but that's hard to count.
But we're also getting the school year and getting the teachers organized to be involved with this in our time frame is gonna be difficult.
Well,
It's
yeah,
the
I don't think they have to right now. Well, right now, what we're just, I'm just talking about in the future.
Okay,
It would be
Clear.
better to do that for futures.
Do you want me to I can make an
Amended motion.
amended motion that, oops, hold on, sorry, I lost my place. That we table. Item Q, for approval, the ELA curriculum, to be, reviewed by the incoming elementary principal. Questions, posed by the board. And, put on the June board meeting
It's a work session, but we can add just
We
a
can
little
add
short. We can do it at the very beginning, get it done, and then we're on to our next.
Does that suffice?
We dealt with in June, if we do it the work session, the regular session, just as long as we have
Yeah.
a time definite, it'll be done in June.
Yeah, that way he has a little bit of time also, because we don't know what's on his plate.
And if possible, the DAC, just review. Right.
Yeah, because
Sorry, it would be helpful because it would keep us in compliance with the policy.
yeah, yeah, that will help. And then, yeah, my biggest concern here is the kids.
Yeah.
They need a viable curriculum. They really, really do. And this one does sound good, although I've never seen it, but it sounds good. But I appreciate the work that the teachers did. They did a lot of work.
Yes.
And I appreciate that. And I would like to give the kids an appropriate curriculum that's updated and that is in the science of reading. So I would also like to review somehow, maybe to talk to Todd, maybe you take this on, but taking this curriculum into the 6th grade. I mean, that's always been, what I've heard is an issue, is students aren't reading well.
Right.
And, because they kind of get dropped, the curriculum stuff gets dropped in 5th grade and still like leave.
Well, I know what we've heard is that there's been too large of a gap in between 5th and 6th grade, and that's something I know that the staff's been working on narrowing, and I know some of that's happened this year, but,
Maybe this would help.
yeah, I'll certainly broach this with Ivy and connect her also strongly with Holly as well, and make sure
Yeah,
that
just
those
see
two are
if
well
that
connected on this.
wouldn't help. I know it's more money, again, but again, we need to help our students as much as we can. They have to be first, so.
Yeah, I'm anxious to talk with Ivy about it, see what her thoughts are.
Okay.
All right, so I made a motion,
And you second it.
and we have a second?
You amended
Any
it.
motion, I will second the amended motion.
Okay, so we have a motion that was amended to table Q, approve BLA curriculum until basically the new elementary principal can add his eyes on. And then we will have a special meeting on June 1st at a work session where the only agenda item will be accepting or approving the ELA curriculum.
We're going to do June 1st, because that's 7 days.
That's what I said. I think that we say June because
That's why we
I would say
said
June,
June.
not June.
it's June.
We said that we were gonna do it in June, whether we do it at that meeting or if we do it in our regular
Oh.
meeting.
I
That
thought
way
we were
you
still
get-
on June 1st.
Well, that way you give him a little time.
That's
because
too-
we don't-
that's too-
That's too fast.
That's too fast.
Okay.
It's a
Okay,
lot to
so
ask.
change that to in June, our
In June.
June meeting.
In June.
And then
We have to call,
preferably,
we have to call a special meeting, that's fine.
preferably a work session. I mean, that's
Well,
what I
but
would
this
do.
is such a fine.
Yeah.
We can
So
do
we
it
don't
at the
need to let that
regular,
pay.
you guys, we can do it at
Right
the regular
now.
meeting.
That's fine.
Because this company will work with us by dating the invoices correctly, letting us get the
Oh,
checks to them.
perfect.
They work with us.
So we'll be fine at the regular
So
June
just
meeting.
let's
So
do
push
June
it
at
to
the
June.
regular
meeting.
Okay.
Eliminate a lot of extra.
Awesome. Thank you.
Just wanna make sure I have the right.
The sport guy, we're like,
I see, yeah, I'll give it a few more.
let's like be kind.
All right, did everybody get that motion in second? Yes.
Yes.
All right,
Okay,
any more
ready?
discussion?
No.
Okay, have to call the question quick.
Kay Hill Volpe.
Aye.
Karen Carpenter.
Aye.
Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Kim Hunter.
Aye.
Emily Hutchison Brown.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0.
I move that we approve first reading of our list of 1 through 14 policies.
I second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the first reading of our first 14 policies. Any discussion?
Yes. I would ask that, there are a few changes to be made that have not yet been made because they're in the discussion list. So am I then to, understand that we are to make some of those, and a lot of them are very minor. They're, inserting the word superintendent where we have a blank, they're reinserting DAC. It's all detailed in the commentary. There's also some question in regard to just clarifying certain pieces of policy, which we could easily do during our summer board retreat. But I would like to know if those minor changes can be incorporated so that at second reading and adoption, they're done.
Yeah.
That would be my recommendation.
Those were the comments we already submitted to you.
They're already submitted and they're documented.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, that's fine with me. You guys have that, you saw all the commentary on it, so. Okay. Anybody not in favor of that? All right, any more discussion? Never call the question.
Katie Cahill Holton. Aye. Sam Carpenter. Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Ken Hunter.
Aye.
Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Is that as the second reading?
Yes, so the second reading, I would make a motion that we adopt this in the policies noted in S, GBEB-R and IG as written.
I'll second that.
Okay, got a motion and a second to do the second reading and vote on the GBEBR and IG policies. Any discussion? Okay, let's call the question.
Katie Cahill Holton.
Aye.
Sam Carpenter.
Aye.
Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Ken Hunter.
Aye.
Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Gee, last one.
I'd make a motion that we accept the hiring of Seth Levine as our new elementary school principal.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to act on the recommendation to hire Seth Levine, elementary principal. Any discussion?
All good.
All right, Heather, call the question, please.
Katie Cahill Holton.
Aye.
Sam Carpenter.
Aye.
Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Ken Hunter.
Aye.
Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. We have a new principal.
Yeah.
Good job. All right, we don't have any public participation, they left. Future agenda items.
Well, obviously you have your June agenda item for Q, which was your ELA curriculum.
Right.
You will also have policy in June, which will flow forward.
Yeah. I have something too.
And then one A.
Table M. For the,
Yes,
land
M is
use.
June and 1A is June.
and which one?
1A, start plan 1A.
Okay. Anything else?
Just a note for our board retreat, today is the due date for your commentary. But I have to have it to the leadership team by the 26th. I'll start working on it now, but if you're delayed and you have commentary, Mr. Figueroa was, made a really astute point and said, a lot of that was captured within the process. So if you don't have additional commentary, that's totally fine. But we just want to make sure we capture everybody's viewpoints. I need to get that to that team on the 26th so that they can start doing their work. And
Because those
Okay.
reports,
I'm sorry.
those reports, and did capture a lot of what we were talking about, so.
Just clarification, when we send it to administration, what will they do with it?
yeah, so they're gonna start taking our comments, take the plan, take the monitoring reports with all of the recommendations that Audion has, and then making those adjustments.
Okay,
I don't know exactly how she's going to present
Right.
that, but I do know that she mentioned that she's working with Dr. Gavro and they're already starting a little bit of that work. And so that here's the intention, when we get to the retreat, since there is so much work to be done, we'd like to at least front load that, with the work that we've already done.
So, on the first, what we would expect at least is some sort of draft
Yes,
Yeah.
embedded with the changes that
Yeah.
we.
yes.
And will we have an opportunity before the first or at the first to look at that information?
I mean, I don't see why you don't have, you could look at it for sure, like we could, you know,
So the reason I say that
Draft.
is that I process it a
Yeah.
little bit versus here's the
Yeah.
first time I look at it on the first and it's hard to know.
yeah, I think, you know, if I were, I don't know if there's time, to be honest, let me be frank with you.
For me,
You want to prep for something? Come on.
The only reason I say that is I like to, I mean, I process stuff.
so
No,
when I did my feedback today,
It's
because
hard
I
to look
went
at something,
through.
read it,
I went through the what I did is I had the strat plan and I had each objective report and I went through it item by item myself to give you my feedback. When I was doing that, it brought back to mind, front of mind, oh,
Yeah.
that's right, we talked about this, oh, that's right, we wanted to do that. And I wrote it down, even though I knew you'd probably get it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
But it did bring to front of mind for me,
Yes.
I need to remember that I need to look for this whenever we're sitting around the table.
Thank you for bringing that up. I will say one thing, Mr. Whitner did, and I would advise you to look at that template, because Emily, I might ask you to go back, I'm so sorry, but he did, one of the things I did ask was priority.
Yeah.
And there is a column for like, is this a priority? Do we have the capacity to do it? Because that's been a through line through all of the strategic plan.
Now,
correct?
did he want it prioritized by each objective or by our
He used
feedback
like
of
high
change?
priority, like he, if I can pull it up, just take a look at it if you have questions. I don't wanna like belabor this online.
That's a great form, I liked it.
Yeah, just take a look at it. And I will give you his, I don't think he would mind, as an example. How's that? I'll give you the form, I'll give you his as an example, and just take a look. It'll make a lot of sense because he basically like just hit the attributes of each objective.
I did turn it into an Excel file
Yeah.
because it's a PDF, so there's nothing you can't manipulate.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I pulled it from a different format. Sorry about that. I'll make it into a, yes. So I will get that to you guys. Just know like the 26th is really the drop dead date.
So
So
that's when the,
I have to turn it over.
oh, yeah,
4 days.
I got that, and then they're meeting on what day, the 30th or 31st?
We're meeting on the 30th. Let me check, I'm sorry.
Yes, the third.
We're meeting on the 30th for a few hours. And Mr. Figueroa, we may not, depending on the feedback, we may not, have the collective wisdom to have an alternative objective, but we will get that noted so that, especially if there's conflict.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I think just to kind of put a cap on this conversation that, I think the idea was to go through each one of us was going to be in charge of an objective. Was I correct? Or maybe Dr. Gabro is gonna be, I don't know.
Dr.
Maybe
Gabriel
I
is gonna
think-
lead us through this.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
and we've talked about.
The balance is gonna be
Well, no, I just-
responsible. I wanted to see the text.
Sure.
I'm trying to avoid that kind of responsibility.
Yeah, so we will have like
Thank
big
you.
sheets of paper
Okay.
for each
Okay.
objective.
Okay.
And really, a big reason that I wanted the admin team to get your feedback in advance is we discovered this year that the rubric didn't always align with the objective. And I wanna get the rubric as close to right as possible so that because we wanna try to accomplish 7 objectives before lunch and 4 objectives after lunch.
So,
Okay.
To speed it around.
yeah, so we're just trying to get all that work done. So I will, tonight, before I go to bed, I will get you the example and the template. I will put it in the body of the original email with all the dates. And it will call out kind of the information that we're looking for. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. All right.
Just one more question. I know Todd with his talking about what the board has done. I just have to say, you guys are amazing. Thank you for the hard work you do. I mean, I get calls every time and you guys are rock stars. It isn't my leadership, it's your stepping up.
Well,
This is a great.
A big part of it has to do with the leader.
yeah,
I think
and I,
it's a great team, teamwork here. That's amazing. Thank you for all your work.
Well, and I-
Really, really appreciate it.
I would like to say Mr. Cordray really has, helped us get to a new level too. And so I think it is an extremely amazing collaboration between, our district leader and the board. So thank you, Mr. Cordray.
Okay, the signatures you get to do.
Oh, I forgot.
me
Why
too.
wasn't I doing
All right,
these?
are we calling?
So, yes, if there's nothing else,